You're now tuned in to By the Dipshits exclusive content. This is part 3 of a 3-part interview with O.D.B. last manager Jarred Weisfeld. Before we jump into the interview, By the Dipshits want to give a special thanks to our sponsors. What is Galaxy Wells? Galaxy is a metaphor which represents infinite space. Their goal is to dominate the infinite space in the digital publishing universe. Wells are the major corporation that possess endless amounts of content. What do? They turn content into currency in the digital space, the home of the NFTs. You want to keep your ownership and intellectual property? Then stop what you're doing and go to galaxywells.com. Now I'm back to By the Dipshits.
The day after, 2 days after he died, 2 days after he died, his widow was in court seeking upward modification of child support from somebody that is dead.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, and I think the judge made a comment like, I'm glad to see you're grieving.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he said to Dirty's attorney, if the surrogate's court, like if she tries to put a claim into surrogate's court, I'd like to tell the judge that, they need to come over here quick because, I know this case inside and out and I see what's going on here. So, yeah, that's how deep it is.
Absolutely crazy.
She wanted $10,000. Like, it was crazy. There was one, like that same meeting. She wanted like $10,000 a month when I was there. And Mark Fry, the attorney, whispers in my ear. He's like, yo, like, what are we going to do? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, she wants $10,000 a month. She says Puffy gets $10,000 a month. And Dirty is like, I'm not fucking Puffy, right? And Dirty's like, yo, could we make it work? I'm like, are you fucking nuts? And he was like, what do you, I was like, dude, $10,000 a month? I was like, you give her a shit ton now. Where's the money going? I was like, you give your kids like a shit ton of money every time they come to you. Like, you ask your mom for like money for your kids and your mom goes out and she gets the money for your kids. And he was just like,
crazy.
He was like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm like, yeah, you're not giving her $10,000. I was like, and I said to the attorney, I'm like, you got to fight this. And he fought it. And like every time, like the attorney was so good. Like, I'm telling you, he was so good because he would go to court and he would say like, and at some point, I think she was representing herself at some point, right? So I think
he said, one of those.
Yeah, I think like her lawyers ditched her. She probably didn't pay or something, and she was like one of those that represented herself. And the judge would say, the lawyer would say to the judge, Your Honor, like, she's in here complaining she doesn't have any money. He goes, I'm just curious. Did she drive her BMW bike, her Range Rover, or her Mercedes truck to court today? And she's like, that's not relevant. And the judge goes, no, seriously, which one did you drive today? Right?
Oh, shit.
And he's like, you got those 3 cars and you're in here complaining that you don't have enough money? He's like, get out of here. And he'd like throw them out. Every time the lawyer would be like, what car did she drive here, Your Honor, today? And it was like one of those. I mean, it was a complete, like, he was paying, listen to how crazy this is. He was paying child support while he was in prison. Do you know anybody that does that?
Yo, so what? He was just pretty much sending a line out to what, his mom or someone, to pay it while he was in jail?
No, he did a small record on an indie label for a couple $100,000 just so that his kids, his wife and his mother would like have money to like live.
Wow.
Even though his mother like worked. His mother like worked her entire life. Nothing was ever enough. Like, he wanted his mom to have the best of everything, right? Always wanted his mom to have the best, no matter what it was. So he gave, he sent her a check. He did a record deal of like old music. And they turned it into a record and he got money from it, and he gave majority of that money to his to the kids and to what's it called in child support. And he gave his mom some money. So the point is like, that's the kind of guy he was.
Right.
And you're going to take that guy to family court? That's just wrong.
You know how people are, man. They try to use you and, you know, to get what they can get, especially when it comes down to, you know, depending on how it looks from the outside, you know, with women and baby mother seeing all of the money that they may have thought was coming in, felt like they wanted a piece of it and they was going to go to any measure to get it.
I hear you.
And that's crazy. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
No, I mean, it was very, very bizarre situation because, you know, he overpaid. So he's in court, somebody seeking more when he overpaid. She actually owed him money. It appears as though she might have owed him money. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, no, I just hope that I would like his album to come out. And I would also like his kids to
eat from it.
You know, to eat from it.
Yeah.
And I'd also like for his kids to eat from that commercial that he's got and like all his publishing and stuff. I mean, I got him out of a publishing deal. Remember that same deal I got him out of that we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
She got him back into it. Maybe with the same people for pennies on the dollar.
That's crazy. But wait, why did he change his name though to Dirt McGirt? I mean, did he not own his own O.D.B brand?
No, he did. But like, he wanted to do a clothing line, right? How many people do you know are going to have the word bastard allowed in their store, right? So he went with Dirt McGirt because like people wouldn't like carry like old dirty bastard clothing in a store.
Right.
So that's the story behind Dirt McGirt.
Wow.
Buddha Monk gave him that name.
Whatever happened with the clothing line?
Nothing. I mean, he passed away.
Right.
He passed away right but when it was about to launch. But yeah, he would have been off of parole like 2 days after he passed away too.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the few pieces that I did see Dirt McGirt, like, you know, did it ever make it into any stores?
You know, I don't know. Like once he passed away, I was kind of thrown out of the loop of everything. His widow wanted to control everything. So I was out of the loop. Like I didn't know anything. And look, I'm gonna be honest with you, like none of this makes sense to me. And I'm definitely not a bitter person, like at all. Like nobody wants that estate to succeed more than I do, right? I want his kids to be taken care of. Like nobody wants that more than I do. But some of the moves that they've made are moves that I've, you know, protected him from that I never would have done. Like Old Dirty Bastard having his own strain of weed never would have happened if I was his manager. If he was alive today, he would, I assure you, when I was his manager, I assure you, he would not have his own line of own strain of weed ever in a million years. Never going to happen. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because he had an addiction to drugs, right?
Right.
And if you're addicted to drugs and you have your own strain of marijuana, that's a bad look for your fan base, right? That's a bad look. Look, he died of a drug overdose, and you have a strain of weed named for a man that died of a drug overdose. That is not a cool thing to do, right? I don't care how much money you got for that. That's a bad look, and that's a bad look for kids that are fans of his, right?
Right.
Just where I come from, I never would have done that, ever. If it was like $1 million deal, still wouldn't have done it. I would have walked away from it because it's not the right thing to do, right? You just don't. Right. You don't, like, he died of a drug overdose, right? Like it's a bad look.
But what about if the drug? What about if they use the drug in a positive sense, like the derivative of marijuana, like CBD, and they had his name attached to it?
what if they did it like that?
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody wanted to do something with Old Dirty Bastard's name that was missing the part that got you high, I would find that really hard to believe that somebody would want to do that.
Okay.
You know, that nobody would want to do that. Now, if somebody wanted to do like if somebody wanted to, like, I would never allow anything in drugs to be marketed with his name ever in a million years. Just like I wouldn't let him do, you know, Old Dirty Chinese Restaurant.
Right.
Because I thought it was bad. It was bad. Well, I didn't think it was a funny joke. You know, does that mean like it was a bad joke? No. I just thought it wasn't worth using one of our, like, you know, past 9 o'clock curfew things. But yeah, no, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have done that deal. And there's some deals they've done that, like, I wouldn't have done a hologram either. Right? Like, that stuff creeps me out. I'm not gonna lie to you, like, it creeps me out. Like, he died, and you know, like, bringing him back to life in a hologram to perform, like, that's not something I would have done either.
Right.
It's just not my thing, especially considering knowing that, you know, we were talking about retirement. So I really do believe that he would have retired a long time ago. He would have been much happier. He didn't like, you know, like, Dirty used to, you know, I mean, you guys saw him. He was like the first one to have the teeth, right? The gold teeth.
Yeah.
And he'd walk around like he had like Aqua Swiss back then. He had like crazy, like a number of watches on his arms. He was hysterical, right? I'd be like, Dirty, like, one watch isn't enough. You need 3, right?
He wanted to be in different time zones.
Yeah. So he had like 3, right? And he'd go, okay, man, I'll see you later. I was like, where are you going? He's like, I'm taking the subway. I was like, you're taking the subway? He was like, yeah. I was like, dude, you got all this jewelry on you. Are you nuts? And he said to me, he goes, the day I can't take the subway is the day my life is over. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I'm just a regular person. I was like, a regular person that has a shit ton of jewelry. I was like, somebody's gonna chop your arm off. What?
I'm laughing, man. Dirty was just absolutely like super special, man. He was special, man.
Yeah, he would take the subway, and I was just like, dude, are you sure? And he'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, we at least like take the watches and put them in your pocket. And he'd be like, no. I'd be like, dude, you're gonna, like, you know, you stick out, right? He's like, what do you? I was like, you get on a train, like, everybody knows who you are. I mean, like, you got the teeth. I was like, you're not going on there like with a hat covering your face or anything. Like you got like watches all over you. And he'd just be like, I'll be fine. Nobody's gonna mess with me.
Wow.
And yeah, it was just, you know, he was different. He was funny. I mean, I never I used to call him Rusty, right? That's what I used to call him. I didn't call him Dirty. I used to call him like Rusty or Russell.
Right.
But yeah, no, he was a trip. So yeah, so obviously, like, when I heard the news that he passed away, it was
devastating.
It was shocking. Yeah. I was in another state. I wasn't even, like, I was in Florida visiting my parents. And then, you know, I got the phone call from his mom. And then at first, you know, she said that he died. And then she said, oh, wait, I think he's in a coma. They're telling me he's in a coma. And then she's like, no, he passed.
By the Dipshits, premium content streaming everywhere.